way up. Working late, stay up. Counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. Way up, pray up. On track, now we going way up. Way up. Now we going way up. Now we going. On track, now we going way up. Way up. Now we going way up. Now we going. Keep the same energy. Work on being better when I'm 70. Your drip is just a water spring. You know I drip different, this is 7 seas. I deal with life different, make that lemon squeeze. We're known for my style and identity. Better bounce back and get the cheddar cheese. I guess that's why they envy me. On track, now we gon' stay up, counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. Way up, pray up. On track, now we gon' way up. Way up, now we gon' way up. Now we going. On track, now we gon' way up. Way up, now we gon' way up. Now we going. I got his band like I'm Barry Bonds. Running through the money, but the money's long. I don't love it, but I need it, keep it coming on. Only family, me and friends, we don't get along. I put that on my name, that I put them on. I put myself on stage and say sing along. I might book a session, do 100 songs. I'ma let you hear them just to prove you wrong. On track, now we gon' way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up. Counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. Way up, pray up. On track, now we gon' way up. Now we gon' way up. Now we going. On track, now we gon' way up. Now we gon' way up. Now we going. On track, now we gon' way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up. Counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. Way up, pray up. On track, now we gon' way up. Now we gon' way up. Now we going. On track, now we gon' way up. Now we gon' way up. Now we going. Keep the same energy. Work on being better when I'm 70. Your drip is just a water spring. You know I drip different, this is 7 seas. I deal with life different, make that lemon squeeze. We're known for my style and identity. Better bounce back and get the cheddar cheese. I guess that's why they envy me. On track, now we gon' way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up. Counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. Way up, pray up. On track, now we gon' way up. Now we gon' way up. Now we going. On track, now we gon' way up. Now we gon' way up. Now we going. I got his band like I'm Barry Bonds. Running through the money, but the money's long. I don't love it, but I need it, keep it coming on. Only family, me and friends, we don't get along. I put that on my name, that I put them on. I put myself on stage and say sing along. I might book a session, do 100 songs. I'ma let you hear them just to prove you wrong. On track, now we gon' way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up. Counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. Way up, pray up. On track, now we gon' way up. Now we gon' way up. Now we going. On track, now we gon' way up. Now we gon' way up. Now we going. On track, now we
Good evening, everybody. This is Matt. I'm just setting up and launching into our presentation here. Okie dokie. Ready to start this thing, Harold?
Yes, sir.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Druin of Oak Grove Development. This is my partner in crime.
Harold Bain from FIAP. Financial intelligence over poverty.
What is that?
Financial intelligence over poverty.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you for tuning in. We got a little bit of intro to build the context about what we're going to talk about this evening. And a lot of us in our programming have talked about the how-to associated with real estate and real estate investing, but we really have not gotten into is the mindset stuff, right? Mindset is more important than your skills and expertise and all that stuff you bring to the table. If you don't have the right mindset as an entrepreneur, then you won't succeed, right?
That's right.
And part of building that mindset is overcoming struggle and finding purpose in that, all right? And what I mean by that is the trauma, the setbacks, the struggles that we go through as entrepreneurs, not just real estate investors, but entrepreneurs in general. So Harold and Kia own a couple companies. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that build our purpose and become really our guardian angels to keep us on track towards our vision, our dreams, and our aspirations. So to expand upon that, for instance, is how many know who Tony Robbins is here? Anybody? Okay, we got some hands here. So Tony Robbins talks about motivations as either you are running towards something, right? Something that gives you pleasure, or you're running away from something, okay? And what I find is that what you're running away from can be a far better motivator than what you're running to, all right? Annette, can you go out to my car and get something out of there? I'll give you a cookie, one of those little snack packs that we got in the front there. Can you do that for me? Okay, so she's not getting up out of her seat, is she? All right, because that cookie isn't motivating enough. But if a saber-toothed tiger, busted their way in here, all y'all be right onto my car.
Absolutely.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So that's what Tony Robbins means in that. And a lot of us succumb to self-medicating with either drugs, alcohol, or entertainment. I consider entertainment a form of self-medication, and not using those negative experiences to really, really propel you forward. So I'm going to go on a little bit of story about myself, which I don't think I really talked about with any of you guys, and not even some of my closest friends know about this. All right. So as many of you know, I lost my mother at an early age. She died from cancer, and she had a long battle, almost 10 years. We were living with us. During the last few weeks of her life, she had in-home hospice care, which was amazing. So we didn't have to go out of the house to visit her or anything like that. And she was smart. She started wrapping up her financial affairs because she knew her end was coming. And it came to find out that my stepfather, when they were balancing the books, so to speak, that she had more liabilities than assets. And he was going to get, guess what? Nothing. Okay? So what he proceeded to do is he went, drained all the bank accounts, all my mother's life savings, and went to Turning Stone Casino and blew everything. Okay? Not only did that happen, we had my brother's funeral about a week after that, and he kind of disappeared for a little bit. You kind of gave him his space and that sort of thing, and we came back about a week later after my mom passed away to kind of check in on him and see how he was doing. Well, when we opened up the door of the house, it was like somebody robbed the place. The entire house was flipped upside down. He took every single thing, even of value, the plates, the silverware, everything out of our home. Okay? All of this is linked back to my parents getting separated, which was over financial issues. And that traumatic experience, sometimes when I get off track, we're not always motivated. Entrepreneurs are not always motivated. We have to find motivation. Sometimes it's as simple as going to my vision. All right, this is my vision. This is my why, and that sort of thing. Sometimes that doesn't work. So sometimes I have to go to the dark places where, the really, really bad stuff that happened in my life to really be like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. All right. It doesn't always conjure up the most positive thoughts and that sort of thing, but it's the best way to kick yourself in the butt. So that being said, to build the context of what we're going to talk about tonight, and our special guest, Annette Campbell, the tax experience, is telling about her story and how she struggled from pretty much, I would say, financial ruin, right, Annette? To where she is now. She's got a 6-figure business built, okay? And I guarantee you that she draws upon that experience she had in her life to give her motivation. So anyways, that's my little piece. Harold, anything on that? Anything that you want to talk about in terms of how you found motivation through struggle?
I'd say for me, you guys, if you've been coming long enough, you guys heard my story already about growing up poor, but just seeing how unfair it is. You know, I don't know if you guys have it, but I think every family member has one family member that's doing well and the other one that's kind of doing really bad financially. So when you see how people treat even people that are struggling financially, they don't get the respect that the people that are doing well do, right? Correct? You guys ever notice that? The same opportunities, things like that. That's all. That was also motivation. We were that lower, family, of the bunch, and people looked down on us, and we weren't invited to places. We were embarrassing. We didn't dress as nice. You know what I mean? So these kind of things where when my uncle, he had money. Okay, so when he came in, everybody was happy to see him and everything. And I remembered that. I'm like, man. But when we come in, it's like, oh, here they go. You know what I mean? So that also kind of reminds me about why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I also want to be a place of helping people. I mean, if I'm struggling, how can I help others? You know what I mean? Have you guys ever done that where someone was hurting and all you could do is listen because you're struggling too? You ever been through that? So I just always wanted to be in a place to be a blessing to others, but to be a blessing to others, you have to be blessed, right? So I just didn't want to live that lifestyle anymore. So that was my motivation. When we've gone through struggles, me and my wife, when things have come up, obstacles have come up, we just go back to what is our goal? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? And it pushed us forward. I think I just wrote a post recently that dedication is more important than motivation. And a lot of times that's just what get us going. It's just we're dedicated. It's just what we do day after day. And that is more important to me than motivation because a lot of times you don't find it. So anything else you had to add or?
No, that was awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. Do you want to introduce our speaker or do you
Sure.
want to get into book giveaways first?
All right. So, you know what? Well, we got definitely not enough books for everybody. So we'll leave that towards the end. So I guess we'll now introduce our beautiful Annette Campbell, our tax expert. All right.
All right, Annette, come up.
Good evening, everyone. How are you guys doing tonight? Thank you guys so much for coming out to listen to my journey. As you guys heard, my name is Annette Campbell. I am the founder of the Tax Experience, and I'm so grateful to be able to tell you guys my story on my journey of building a business and the struggles that you face as entrepreneur. But my journey is one that is a journey of never giving up. And I'm so excited to tell you guys my journey. So overcoming financial struggles that lead to purpose. So do you know what your purpose in life is? Matt? Absolutely. Anybody else? Do you know what your purpose is in life? Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Anybody else want to answer? The reason why I started with that question is because I think that in life that we might not know our purpose. You know, me growing up, I didn't know like this was going to be my purpose, and I think it all will tie back as you guys continue to hear my story. It's all going to tie into how I found my purpose through financial struggles, and sometimes life just happens where it's going to catapult you to different. You're going to go through different experiences in life that's going to lead you to your purpose. So I always ask that question because I think it's something to think about. You know, think about what you are here on this earth to do, because I feel like we are all here for a reason. We are all here for a purpose. And that might look different for every single person. So I want to start off with my journey to success, right? So like I said, we all have a story. We all have our way on how we become successful. So for me, I think for you guys to fully understand my story and my journey, you got to understand the beginning, right? So I grew up in foster care. So from birth, I have four brothers. My mom, she struggled with drug addiction. So from immediately being born, I went straight into foster care. I was there for until about 5 years old. My mom did get her life together and she got clean, which I'm super proud of my mom. She's 27 years clean, doing amazing. But that was significant for me because I was blessed with three moms. I feel like I have four moms. I had three foster parents. They're Sisters of Mercy. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Sisters of Mercy. So they are nuns. So they dedicated their lives to taking care of drug addicted children, children with disabilities, and things of that nature. So me and my brother, like I said, I have four. So me and my youngest brother, who was closest to me, went there. My older brother, he went with his grandma. And then my other brother, I have a brother that actually got adopted because he had disabilities and my mom wasn't capable of taking care of him. So we all went there. And as I grew up, we went back home with my mom, and it was difficult, right? Because my mom she came from drug addicted. Her mom was on drugs and she was in foster care. So it was like a cycle for her. So it was like, can you imagine a baby kind of taking care of raising babies who never had a good foundation with her parent, with her mom, and helped her. My grandma actually introduced my mom to drugs. So if you can imagine the trauma that my mom had to deal with, and try to overcome those things, and she overcame them. And I think that's where I get some of my resilience, is because my mom overcame a huge hurdle in her life. But if you can imagine growing up with, a mom who didn't have the solid foundation and didn't have the love and the care from her own mom, and trying to raise her own children. So it was tough. But my godparents, I call them my godparents, they stayed in our lives even after we went back home with my mom, which was a blessing because my mom, she was a single mom. I don't know who my father is. None of us know who her dads are. So a single mom trying to raise her kids, trying to do the best that she can. So they stayed in our lives, and they actually, anytime Christmas came, they always gave us Christmas presents because my mom wasn't able to do that all the time. And which was absolutely a blessing. Like it was a blessing from my mom because she didn't have to worry about those different types of things. But I just felt so like, oh my gosh, like, what did we do to deserve this? So they also went a step further of actually putting me and my brother through private school. So we was in private school. So now leading on to my middle school journey, middle school and high school, they put us through private school. So I started off in city school district from elementary, obviously, to middle school. So we went to Nazareth, we went to a private school, and then I went to city school district as well. So I just also felt that my success I owe them my success because in the very beginning of my journey, they picked us to help us, give us that extra boost, give us that extra love and nurturings for us to be able to go to private school. So going there, coming from a poverty zone environment, and going to a private school, I was very blessed and grateful for that experience because I met a lot of people I learned a lot of valuable things, and it kind of just put me in a situation going into high school. I was in all advanced classes, and I did well. I went to Edison, which is a school of business, finance, and entrepreneurship. Yes, any Edison Tech alum, and that is very monumental for me because I was introduced to business. I was taking accounting classes in high school. I had a credit union that was actually in my school, so I was introduced through high school, and I think that it's so crazy how I ended up at that particular school. So I went there, graduated. I was very involved in high school. I loved school because I thought it was a good way to get away from my mom sometime. I always loved school. I'm like, I gotta go to school. I don't want to be at home with my mom. So, as you know, growing up, you have those challenges with your parents, but my mom was extreme. But I graduated top of my class. I was senior class president. So I was very active in school. And I love school. I went on to college. I went to MCC, and then I went to Brockport, which I studied business and accounting. And during that, I got my first job. Obviously, I landed a good job in banking, which was amazing. I was like the youngest one out of my group of friends who actually had a quote unquote career job, because people do retire from banking. And I worked there for 5 years. And my goal was to retire from there. That's initially what my thought was, right? Because as society and your parents, my mom told me, like, Annette, you better go to college. And I thought that was the right thing that I was doing. And at the time I was, because I wouldn't take away my college career. I wouldn't take away my career in banking as well. But I got to a point in my life where I was still struggling. Like, I did everything. I went to college. I did all those things that's supposed to help you build a solid foundation to help you grow financially. And I seen myself still struggling. I was still working, and I got other jobs besides that career job at the bank. And it was like a light bulb that clicked off in my head. And I was just like, okay, is this what my life is supposed to look like for the rest of my life? Like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I can't take the vacations that I want. I'm still struggling to pay Peter, to pay Paul. Like, I'm in that paycheck to paycheck cycle. And I just knew, like, this was not what my life was supposed to look like. I was sitting at my job, and I'm a Pisces, you guys. So, like, we're dreamers. So I was sitting at my job, and I was just daydreaming and just thinking, like, this is not it. This is not how my life is supposed to go. So I prayed about it. That same week, my friend, he messages me. He says, hey, Annette, he was actually a high school friend. He was like, hey, Annette, I know you're very business minded. Do you keep your options open for the different opportunities? And I said, yes, of course. And I think I want to highlight this because I think that's major in your entrepreneurship journey. You have to always keep your eyes open and be willing to actually listen to different opportunities that might come your way, because those might be the blessings, the prayers that you're actually asking for. So I said, yeah, sure. I didn't know what he was going to talk about. A lot of, at the time, like MLM companies, if you guys are familiar with them, I was just like, is it another one of those? But I talked to him, and I actually started my first business. And it was MLM company. It was Ambit Energy. And it was me actually going around helping people, like, save money on their gas and electricity bills. And long story short, to that experience, it built my self-development, because if you guys, I would not even be on this stage right now. I was a girl that you could never get on the stage. I was very quiet. I was very shy. I would never go up and talk to random people. But now, like, I'm like the networking queen. Like, I would go and have a conversation with anyone. But I knew that in order for me to be successful in that type of business, is that I had to have those hard conversations with people. I had to go talk to strangers, even if they told me no, even if they told me, like, I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't want to do this business. I don't want to partner with you. And I was just so determined, because I became passionate about finances. So in the moment of me, like, understanding that I need another source of income, so I started that business, I lost my job. So that is, we're at the loss and the breaking point, right, in my journey. So we never think we're going to lose a job until it actually happens. I had no emergency savings. I had nothing prepared for me to I had no idea what I was going to do. So that was a domino effect, right? So if you're losing the main source of income, right, that's going to pay your bills. At the time I was living on my own. I moved out of my mom's house. I was 6 years into like living on my own, taking care of myself. So when I lost my job, I didn't have that savings account. So it was a domino effect. I lost my car, and then my lease to my apartment was up that same month. So I decided, I kind of like lost the apartment because it didn't make sense for me to re-sign a lease, and I don't have a job at the time. No longer had a job. So that was the most devastating moment of my life, you guys. Like, I was angry, I cried, I felt like I went into a mini depression, but I kind of told myself that I was going to get through this. And I knew that at that moment in my life that I had to do something different, right? When it came to my finances, like, I did not budget. I used to be spending money frivolously, and not. Paid all my bills, but it was still, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, like, if once you're one step away from broke, right? If that job was to ever be taken away from you, and that's what happened to me, I didn't have anything. So I said, okay, Annette, you got to come up with a plan. So I made a decision to move out of my apartment, and I had to go home. I told myself, like, I'm never moving back home with my mom. And for a moment, I asked her, I said, Mom, like, I have to come back home. Like, and it was the most like excruciating feeling, like having to actually, like, you told yourself you're never going back home, and then you have to ask your mom, like, I have to come back home. And my mom, she told me, like, well, you have to pay me $1,000 rent. And I'm just like, I said, Mom, like, I just lost my job. There's no way I can pay this. Like, she was like, well, I don't know what you're going to do. And mind you, like I told you guys, we had a rough childhood. Me and my mom, we don't have the greatest relationship. I love my mom dearly. Like, I would do anything for my mom, but it wouldn't have been mentally a good place for me to go, because I probably would have been depressed, and it wouldn't have been a good environment for me to be in. So I was like, okay, well, let me ask my brother. So my brother had just bought a house. And he pretty much said, no, you need to move back home with your mom, or you need to move to New Jersey with my aunt. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, how am I going to be able to go to New Jersey? Like, I just lost my job. Like, I have some money, but I don't have enough to be able to relocate my whole life. So that was hurtful too, because I was very close with my brothers. And the moment that I've never asked them for anything, and the one time that I actually really needed him, he pretty much like turned me away. So last resort was my grandma. So I said, Grandma, like, please, can I come stay with you for a little bit? And at the time, my uncle was living with her, and a week before I was supposed to move in, my grandma, like, something happened, and she was like, well, you can come move in with me now. So that worked out. So living at my grandma, it was fine. I told my grandma, like, I just need a few months to get myself back on my feet. I was pretty much starting from scratch. And she was okay with that in the beginning. So I stayed with my grandma for a while. And during that time, I didn't want to get a job. Like, I was against jobs at that moment. I was like, I don't want to work for nobody else. Like, I'm never going to have a job, control my financial destiny again. Like, I just have to start over. But realistically, in my mind, I knew, like, I'm like, Annette, you're going to have to get another job temporarily to get you where you need to be. So, but I was working my ambient energy business. Like I told you guys, I was working that, and I was doing amazing. Like, I was the district, well, I'm not going to say the district, but the community that was doing that business, they were so impressed with me, because I was like this girl who came in killing it. Like, I was signing people up. These people have been in that business for 7 years, and it was just like, who is Annette Campbell? Like, they call me the real deal. They was like, this girl is a real deal. Like, she's literally bringing in people. She's talking to people. Like, I have a spirit of influence. Like, I help people believe in themselves. Like, I wanted people to be, I knew what I was going through. So I was like, okay, if I'm going through this, a lot of people must be struggling financially. So if I have an opportunity to help them change their lives, then why not? So they were so impressed with me. And I was just, I got flew out to a millionaire's home. That's how great I was doing. They was just like, who is this girl? We need to find out who she is and how is she signing all these people up for this business. And I can't even get one person to sign up for this business. So I was working that business, and the self-development journey through that was, I worked on my mindset. I stayed close to people who was able to inspire me, able to motivate me. People have been through the same kind of traumatic experiences, but they figured out a way and they changed their lives. So being around those people, reading a lot of books. Oh my gosh, I read so many different books, from As you guys probably all know, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I have a whole library full of books because I listened to a lot of motivational speakers to help me make sure that my mindset was okay during the most traumatic moments of my life. Because I feel like if I didn't have a good solid foundation, that I didn't know that what I was going through at that moment wasn't my final destiny, like I probably wouldn't even be here right now. So as I started to get myself on my feet, so in the process of that, I've been doing taxes. So you guys, before that, I was doing taxes for years. So this is my 9th year doing taxes, and I had the opportunity to work at H&R Block. But before that, I was already working as a TurboTax associate as well. So I was like, you know what? Let me go actually perfect my craft. Like, I've been doing this. I went to school for accounting. Let me go actually make sure like I know what I'm doing is correct. So I started my journey. So during me losing everything, that was when I started working at H&R Block. So I went there, made sure I was learning everything, and I loved it. I love numbers. I love money. I love taxes. I don't know why people hate taxes, and I love taxes. But I'm grateful because during that experience, I was able to learn so much. I was able to learn taxes, tax strategy, tax law, and just understand how taxes really work, and why, we're forced to do it every single year. But during that moment, I became number one in the district. So my first year working at H&R Block, I was number one in the district. I had the most new clients to come into the specific shop. Well, not stop, but what would you call it? A franchise. So from that moment, they wanted me to make me district manager. And I was just like, whoa, like this is just my first year. Like, I don't think I'm ready for this. But they saw the potential in me that I didn't even see in myself. But I was just like, well, let me just continue to work. Like, I don't think I'm ready for that. So in the meantime, I finished the season and I was able to have enough money. I started my next job, which was working at Department of Education. So mind you, I'm still at my grandma's. I'm still working. I'm still getting myself on my feet. I got me a car again. A little, I had a brand new car. So it was devastating to hand the keys into that car. But I was like, you know what, Annette, you just need something. You need a car that's going to get you from point A to point B. And it is so crazy how it happened is because I had a job. The job for Department of Education was supposed to be in Henrietta. And then they called me and they said, Annette, the only way we can offer you this job is if you're going to go out to Geneseo. And I'm just like, I don't even have a car. Like, I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to be able to go drive. I need a vehicle to be able to drive out there. And I didn't want to let go. At the time, they was offering me a $20 an hour job. Like, it's hard to come across that nowadays. And I was just like, okay, like this is the perfect thing that I need to help me get me back on my feet. So then days later, I was able to get my car because at the moment the guy was having some issues, like, oh, he couldn't get the title and things like that. And I was just so nervous. So that worked out. I was able to work my job. And I told myself that was going to be the last job that I ever work at. And it's interesting because when I started working there, this is how people in life try to stop you or try to hold you back. I remember like it was yesterday. I started working there. I got out of training and someone told me, he was like, I was in a pursuit of becoming a doctor. But when I started working here, I started making a lot of money because when you're working for Department of Education, you're collecting on student loans and they give you a lot of commission. It's a commission-based job as well. So people were making a lot of money. They can make an extra $10,000, $15,000 a month if they wanted to, if they put in the work. So he told me, he's like, yeah, I was in pursuit of becoming a doctor, but I started doing this and I kind of fell into the trap and I never went back. And I was just told him, he was like, well, you're not going to want to become an entrepreneur. You're going to stay at this job. And I said, I promise you I won't. I said, I promise you I will not stay at this job. And I worked at Department of Education. I launched my tax business. So I left H&R Block because I was just tired of it. And I just knew like what they were doing, they weren't educating our community. They weren't helping people understand taxes, helping them save money on their taxes. They were just like an in and out type of situation. If you ever I don't know if you guys ever experienced that, but it's not, if you have the right tax professional, you might have a different experience. But with me, they used to actually get mad at me because I took my time with my clients. I made sure that they knew exactly, I explained their taxes to them. And I had an opportunity to be on the news my last year working there, and they told me that I couldn't do it because they needed their own PR. And I was just like, dang, like I'm working for you guys. Like that would be not only a good opportunity for you guys as press because I'm working for your company, but a good opportunity for me as well. So from that moment, I just knew like I need to take my leap of faith. And I was scared. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I said, this is a huge company. There's no way I'm going to be able to get clients. And I was just like, Annette, like you have to believe in yourself. Like you can do this. And that summer after the tax season left, and I was like, you know what, this is my last, I'm not coming back to H&R Block. I have a video, if you guys check out my social media, I have a video that is me telling myself like, this is my last day at H&R Block. I'm never coming back. And I was just so happy because I was just like, I gained enough confidence and courage to be able to take that leap of faith and start my own business. And I'm just like, you know, I said, I know I can get clients. So I started the process of starting my own tax business, did a lot of research, connected with a lot of mentors, a lot of people that was already in an accounting space. So I started off virtually. So in starting into the season of 2020, going into tax season 2020, I launched virtually because at the time I was still working. I didn't want to make that wrong decision to put all my eggs in one basket and not be in a good financial position. I didn't want to make the same mistake before. I'm like, Annette, you're going to keep this job and you're still going to build your business until you're at a place where you feel comfortable enough to be able to take that next leap of faith. And I think sometimes in entrepreneurship journey, some people rush the process. Like what's for you will always be for you. And I knew that. So I said, okay, Annette, like you're going to build this business virtually. And I did a great job, you guys. And it's so crazy because I started with a partner. And she told me that my dream was too big. And she said, and she tried to put fear in me. We worked at the same job. And I told her, I said, look, like this is the amount of money that we need. This is what we need to do. She didn't think we needed a website. She didn't think we needed professional photos. And I'm just like, no, these are the things that we need to be successful in this industry. So I literally did whatever I had to do to make sure that I had all the money that I needed to launch my tax business. You guys, I was working nonstop, you know, for working for the Department of Education. I built my business without my cell phone. You cannot have your cell phone in a federal building. So I used to take their printer paper and I used to write down my business plan. I used to write down everything that I needed to actually, because I'm like, they're not going to stop me from building my business. Like I'm going to find a way. Like you couldn't be on the internet, anything. So I still was determined. I'm like, they're not going to stop me from following after my dream. So leading up into that tax season, I Ubered and Lyft to get extra money my friends was like, Annette, we never see you. Like you're gone through the week and on the weekends, we don't even see you. I said, I gotta build this business. Like I need whatever money that I needed, being that partner kind of like said no, like she was too scared. I said, I need to do what I need to do. So I did well that season. I launched a business virtually. I ended the season with 150 clients. And I was so impressed with myself because people were telling me like, Annette, you'll be lucky to get 25 to 50 clients your first tax season on your own. And I'm like, don't tell me you're not going to tell me what I can do. I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of, but I had to believe in myself and I had to put myself out there in a positive light. I knew like different things like professionalism, telling people my story, even down to my name. I'll tell you guys later, how did I even come up with my name for the tax business? But I brainstormed. And I finally figured out, okay, the tax experience, that's what my business name is going to be. And from that moment, when I had 150 clients, I said, okay, Annette, you're not going to have 150 people come into your house, because at the time I was working virtually. I had a home office. I said, yeah, you're not going to have all these strangers coming into your house. So I knew the next step in my journey was to get an office space. So I told myself mentally, I said, September 2020, I'm quitting my job. I'm walking away. I need to build my tax business. But obviously, COVID happened. So I got laid off. And for a moment, I was nervous. I was scared because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is happening to me again. Like I've been through a job loss, but I knew this time I was a little bit more prepared than I was last time. I had a business. I had a stream of income that I could depend on to help me continue to bring in the money. And mind you, I told myself that was my last job. And I told myself, I said, this must be a sign from God. It's telling me like, you need to build your business. This is your time. Because I said, I'm not going back to another job. And before COVID happened and I got laid off, I almost lost my job because they put me on a set schedule for whatever reason because we had a schedule where we can make our own hours. They put me on a set schedule. And mind you, you drive into Geneseo in the wintertime. You guys know how our winters are. It's crazy. I almost like got into so many car accidents. It's just crazy the journey leading there. But I almost lost my job right up until COVID. And I was so terrified. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't lose my job. Like you guys, honestly, I was mad because they put me on a set schedule and I had already had my tax appointments already set. So I'm like, you guys are trying to get in the way of my business. And I remember I cried. I went out to my car and I cried. I'm like, I have all these appointments set. I said, how am I going to go back and tell all my clients? Like I had to switch their times around and things like that. And then COVID happened. So I didn't have to worry about that set schedule anymore. So from that moment, I told myself, Annette, you're not going back to a job. And during this past summer, I built my business. I reached out to a business mentor. Her name is MJ Allen. I love her. She helped me. She was the first person I told about my tax business and the first person that actually believed in me. I went to another business mentor before and she didn't believe in me. She thought that I was too nervous. I was too scared to do this. And of course, you're starting a business. You're going to be a little nervous. Like you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm about to take over the world right now. But of course, you're going to be a little bit nervous. That's why you're going to go to a mentor to help you. So I love MJ Allen. She helped me develop. She's a amazing woman. She helped me develop my business. And we, from finding the space, making sure I had the right software, making sure my marketing strategy, just everything that I had the background to hiring people, contracts, all those things that you need when you're starting up a business. She just helped me while I worked on the tax part of the business. So I walked my faith walk. I call it my faith walk 2020. And I told myself, I made up in my mind. My family was like, you're crazy, Annette. Like, you need to go start looking for another job. Like, what do you mean you're not going back to a job? I said, I'm not going back to a job. I'm going to build my tax business because the amount of clients that I missed out on my first year because I wasn't readily available was crazy. Like I had people like, hey, I need my tax. As soon as people get their W-2s, they be ready to file their taxes. They be ready. Like, I want to file it right now, especially those who are getting refunds. So I missed out on a lot of opportunity. I'm like, I can't have that happen to me again. So I walked my faith walk and it was hard, right? I was on unemployment, that was a blessing, but my goal was not to stay on unemployment. I built up enough clientele. So I do bookkeeping as well. So I built up enough clientele my goal was to build up enough clients that I can cover all my bills so that I don't have to worry about that because we didn't know when they were going to cut that off. So I put every single penny, I paid my bills and every single penny went into my business, whether that was getting stuff for office, just everything went into that business. So the last 2 months of the year, it was just went crazy, right? When you're so close to getting to your destiny, when you're so close to your dream, things would just start to happen. So unemployment didn't pay me. And I was just like, okay, well, that's okay because I have enough money. I built up enough money so that I can pay all my bills every single month. But then it was kind of hard because I still had to pay for things in my office. So I was still able to get everything and I was still able to find a way because I was determined. I'm just like, I was praying. I'm like, God, no, you didn't bring me to the end of the year just to turn me back around for me to have to go get another job because I'm not going back to another job. So if you could imagine, like you're putting all your eggs in one basket, I was literally walking in faith because I believed in myself. I believed in my dream and I knew like this was my moment. You know, during the pandemic, it sparked a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people had no choice but to tap into their skills, tap into and build their businesses to sustain themselves because a lot of people lost jobs. And I think that COVID kind of taught us that not to depend on that job because at any moment, you know, you're the first one to go. And even when before I got laid off, I was telling my boss, I was just like, I don't think we're going to have a job. It was like, because in the news, it kept coming out like, well, it was only private loans and then it was federal loans. And I kept telling them because we were a federal loan processor. And I said, I think we're next. They was like, no, it's only private loans. And I'm just like, no, I think like they just said like student loans are deferred. So that means like we have no way to collect on these student loans. So what are we going to do? So they didn't believe me. And then boom, we were laid off. But anyway, so back to December. So I'm in my last 30 days of the year, and tax season starts in January, and I was just like, okay, I made it. I've literally got everything. I have my office space, I have my desk, I have my computers, I have every single thing that you can think of that you needed for office. And I was just praying and just like, okay, this is it. Like, if this does not work, then I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll figure it out. But I had a big contract with an organization. This was December 11th. So it was 11 days away before my grand opening. My grand opening was January 2nd. And I had a contract with an organization, and they pretty much, as if you ever dealt with contracts with different businesses, they have fiscal calendars and fiscal budgets, and they messed up the budget. So they pretty much told me they couldn't pay me to the next year, which was devastating for me because I was depending on that money to help me get everything else that I needed for my office and any other marketing strategies that I needed to do to help me make sure that I was ready for the tax season. So I'm looking at my vision board. Mind you, before that happened, I had a vision board party. It was December 5th. And during that vision board party, I was still being faithful. I still wrote that my life was going to change forever. Like, I'm walking a faith walk, and I manifested that I was going to make 6 figures this tax season. I literally have it on my vision board. But I didn't know. I knew what was happening before it even happened. And I think it's important in entrepreneurship that you have to believe in your dream. You have to believe in your ability to be successful before it even happens. Like, I was manifesting that before it even happened. So the organization didn't pay me, so I was devastated, right? But I looked at my vision board and I said, I didn't put all these things down on my vision board to let that distract me from what was actually about to get ready to happen in my life. Like, I've done everything. I've literally did every single thing that you can imagine as an entrepreneur. I took that risk of telling myself that I wasn't going back to my job. My family was calling me crazy. They said, "You're crazy. What are you doing?" And I'm just like, no, like, you guys don't understand because you're not an entrepreneur. You don't understand. Like, I feel like entrepreneurs were wired differently. Like, maybe there might be some studies that come out years from now that says like we're mentally wired differently. But I knew that this was my dream and this was my moment. And even with the way that the world was going on, a lot of people needed someone like me. Like, the average tax return was no longer the average tax return that people can do. You could still do it, but it was just a lot that went on that people are not used to filing on their taxes. That actually I was in demand. So I looked at my vision board again, and I just was like, okay, being that organization did not pay me, I didn't pay none of my bills. And I know this might sound crazy, but I was in a sink or swim mentality. Like, I said, you know what, like, I'm going to sacrifice this. And I prayed about it. I said, God, like, please, like, I'm just not going to pay these bills right now. But I just know when tax season comes, I'm going to be okay. So I left. I prayed about it, and I just said, okay, I got 11 days. I'm 11 days away. I'm 11 days away from January 1, 2021, where the best year of my life, the year that changes forever. And I left my house. Oh, let me back up. I asked my friend. He couldn't help me. So it was Christmas time. It was Christmas time. People spent all their money on Christmas, and he couldn't help me anymore. So I was like, okay, like, I just have to go with what I got, and I got to make it work. So I left my house, and I was praying. Before I left my house, I was like, God, I need a miracle. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I literally told people, but I started advertising about my grand opening. And I'm like, how embarrassing would that be if I didn't advertise about this, talked about it, manifested it, like, just did all the work for it to not to come true. Like, it can't happen. Like, I know it can. Like, I know you got something in store for me. So I left my house right before, and my car breaks down. And I'm just like, like, God, this is not the miracle that I just asked you for before I left my house. So I knew I didn't pay my car payment, but I was like, well, maybe they turned my car off. And now that I think about it, I laugh about it because I'm like, Annette, why would they turn your car off? I have a Jeep. It's a newer car. There's nothing. There was no lights. I had oil. I had gas. And when I tell you the way that my car stopped, it was like something was pulling my car to stop. Like, it wasn't like the average stop. You know how if you ever had a car and it broke down or something like that, like, you can kind of feel it happening. Like, this was so bizarre. I felt like a wind was like stopping my car to stop at the exact place in that expressway road. And it was at the beginning of the expressway, so it's one lane. So if you can imagine, like, being in the middle of the road, people are like riding by me, beeping at me. They're like probably cursing me out too. Like, girl, what is you doing? You in the middle of the road. And I'm just like, my car won't turn back on. So people were passing me. And then this one guy, he stops and he said, hey, ma'am, do you need some help? And I said, I don't know. My car won't turn back on. And I think I know why, because I didn't want to be embarrassed if I knew why my car turned off. I'm like, these people don't turn my car off because I didn't make my car payment. But he was like, he looked at me. I was like, I think I know why I didn't make him a payment. And he was looking at me like strange. Like, he's probably like, this does not make any sense, but I need to get you out of the road. So he backs his vehicle behind mine and he pushes my car. We finally was able to get my car into neutral. He pushes my car to the side of the road and then he comes back, he hands me $250. And I just looked at him and I just started crying because I was just like, sir, like, thank you so much. Like, you don't even understand what I'm going through right now. I said, I am literally 11 days away from my grand opening. I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a tax business and I got laid off due to COVID. And I told myself that I was not going back to a job and I was going to chase after my dream. And he looks back at me and he said, huh? He's like, you're an entrepreneur? I said, yes. He was like, I'm actually a multimillionaire. And I looked at him again and started crying again because I'm just like, that same day, I posted my vision board magazine cover, which was something else that I had made beyond my vision board cover that manifested me becoming a millionaire. And I was going back and forth with myself that day if I should post that in 2020 or should I post it in 2021. So I was just like, I literally just posted this. How did I fall in the vicinity, the energy of a multimillionaire within that same day? So that's why I always tell people, like, your words, your mind is so powerful. Like, you can literally manifest anything. So he looks back at me and he's like, let me tell you something. He said, I know where you've been. He's like, I lost everything before. And I was like, I lost everything too. And he's like, I built my business. He's like, he owns like a lot of insurance companies, real estate. He's like, I cleared $40 million that this year. And he said, I'm only telling you to tell you this, like, your dreams are possible. You have to keep going. And I was just looking at him and I just knew, I was just like, such an awe, right? Because, like, what's the chances of that even happening to me at that very moment? Because I was in a moment of, like, if you can imagine, like, giving it all you got, you're down to nothing. Like, I was literally down to nothing. Like, literally my last penny went into that business. And to have all those things continue to happen to you when you're right there, when you're so close. I was just it was very intense for me at that moment. So he told me, he's like, you know what? I want to help you. He gave me his phone number and he was like, well, what are you going to do about your car? And I was like, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to call and get it towed. And I was like, well, let me just try one more time. And my car turned back on. And we both looked at each other and we were shocked. And I was shocked too. And he was like, you know what? God stopped your car for a reason. And he said, I feel like we didn't cross paths for no reason. And from that very moment, you guys, like, that next day, this is when, I don't know if you guys were familiar with Clubhouse. This is when Clubhouse started to just generate. And a lot of people were on Clubhouse. And I went on Clubhouse and I rolled my car. Nothing has happened to my car ever since that day. So you can't, that was divine alignment, divine timing. Like, that was my time. Like, that was God sending me his angel. Like, look, you have 11 days away from your grand opening and I'm going to bless your life forever, because I already manifested that going into tax season 2021. So the next day I was like, I rolled my car to my office and I was just telling everybody. I told Rashad, he was my videographer at the time. He was my videographer, and I told him the story and I was in tears and he was just like, Annette, like, this is your time. Like, you're almost there. Like, don't give up. And I was just like ready. I'm just like, oh my gosh. The next day I go on Clubhouse. My friend Terry, he pinged me into a group. It was called The Devil Had a Plot, But God Had a Plan. And there was a lot of people in that group telling their testimony. And I waited about 45 minutes. I was in the group for about 45 minutes and I'm listening to people tell their stories, And I'm just like, I got to tell my story. Like, I got to tell somebody what just happened to me today, because nobody is going to believe me. And I told my testimony. I told you the same exact story that I'm telling you guys. I told it in that group. And a pastor, he prophesied over my life. He pretty much said, he was like, and mind you, that 45 minutes that I was in that group, nobody else got prophesied over. So that was like my second confirmation that this is what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. And my dream is really about to come true. he said, he was like, God delivered this message. He told me that you're about to walk into the best year of your life. He was like, you're going to be doing, he's like, you have a lot of work to do on this earth. He was like, you're not going to have no more financial struggles. He said that you're going to do more than just taxes. You're going to help so many people. So don't give up. And I was just crying. And I had people like friends of mine who was actually in that group who was listening to this pastor prophesy over my life. And I was just crying because I'm just like, that was second confirmation. I was just like, okay, like, Annette, I'm about to keep sending you these signs to tell you, like, you cannot give up in your entrepreneurship journey. Like, you're almost there. And then from that moment on, it's just like everything just happened. Like, I was able to launch my tax business, and you couldn't tell me, like, I wasn't the happiest person like that day. Like, I was just, you couldn't tell me I didn't have $1 million in my bank account when I had zero in my bank account that day, because I just knew like all those signs that kept happening to me. For me being able to be on the news, to be on the radio, like those things kind of just fell into my lap. Like, I won a PR package. Like, it was just so crazy how it happened. Like, God will do it when I feel like at that moment I had done my job. Like, God brought me to a certain point in my life, and he was like, Annette, now just let me do the rest. Like, I got you. Like, let me do the rest. And from being on the news, the radio, I had a billboard, and it just was just, my dream literally came true. Like, I manifested that moment, sleeping on the floor. I didn't even, to kind of backtrack real quick, I didn't even tell you guys that point. When my grandma, I got to tell you guys that point because it's significant. My grandma, when I was living with my grandma, she kicked me out. So she kicked me out when I was living with her, and I went to my mom, and my mom made me sleep on the floor at one point in my life. But that, I manifested this moment when I was sleeping on the floor. I told myself I was going to have my tax business, and everything that you go through in life, it's a part of your journey. It's a part of your story. And I wouldn't change the way I love my family. Don't get me wrong, but I have to tell my truth, right? And the truth might not always be comfortable for those who played the different parts in your story, but that's okay. But it all led to this moment. If I would have gave up 3 years ago, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't even be on this stage right now. I wouldn't even be celebrating being able to walk into a season and make over 6 figures. And I walked into the new year praying. I walked into New Year's negative $1,000 in my bank account, but 400 clients later, and I want to say 3 was family, strangers, came in, and I'm grateful for all the people that supported me and continue to support me, and who shared and just took me to another level. And like I said, I manifested that. I set the tone for my year, and I set the tone for 2020, saying that was the best year of my life that I was walking into. And it really is, like, just to see like my dream come true. I don't have any more financial issues. I mean, you have issues, but not to the place where I'm like borderline, losing everything and things of that nature. But I'm just so grateful. I'm just so grateful that I didn't give up. I didn't let anything in my journey, because as you continue to go throughout life and you continue to build your business, you're going to have things that's going to try to stop you. But you have to just continue to push forward and understand, like, I knew 3 years ago I was going to be here before I even happened. And your mindset has to be strong enough to be willing to understand and see it before it actually becomes. So that's me opening up my tax business, cutting my ribbon, and that was me walking into tax season 2021. And I had to tell you guys the whole journey, because I'm doing this also because my why is so big, right? When you're starting a business, and you have to make sure that your why is so huge. And I think that my godparents is a part of my why. I have one left. I had 3. I have one left, and I want her to see, like, I'm beating all the odds, right? They say statistics coming from drug addicted families have 12% chance of actually succeeding. And I think I'm definitely a definition of like the one that's like saying, forget those statistics. Like, it doesn't matter what your background is, where you come from. Like, yes, we have those things that, those disadvantages, but you can still make it. And I can't wait to just give her the world and to just show her I have so much in store. I have so many different goals and dreams that I'm going to continue to work on and to continue to develop, and to show her, like, I appreciate what they did in our lives, because out of hundreds of foster kids, like, they chose us to put us through private school. and to give us an extra chance at life. So I think I owe her my success, and that's the reason why I go so hard and I just continue to never give up. And she was just so happy. She was just like, she was nervous too. She was like, I don't know. They call me Annie. That was like my childhood nickname, Annie. And she was like, Annie, I don't know about this. Like, I'm like, just trust me. Just trust me. And she was just so happy. She was just like, you know what? I can't say anything because you said you was gonna do it. So that is the journey. And now the tax experience. So, oh, what did I do? Oh, there we go. Sorry, guys. So now here we are with the tax experience. This is my business, my baby. It bloomed from I'm in my second year on my own now. And I'm just so grateful. And I want to tell you guys how I came up with the tax experience name. I knew I didn't want a business name that was specific to, like, my last name is Campbell. You know, a lot of people who go into finance or taxes or accounting, they always use like their last name, a family name or something like that for their business. But I knew the vision that I had for my business. I knew that I wanted to create an experience because I knew working at H&R Block, they don't create that experience. They are very transactional, in and out, in and out. They want to make all that money, right? But I think it's important to create an experience for my clients to understand that I'm personable, I'm relatable, and I really care about their dreams. I care about their business goals, and I really want to see people succeed. So I think that is the reason why I named the tax experience. And my long-term vision is to franchise my business. So I knew that if I wanted people to work underneath the tax experience name, I wanted a name that people would be like, okay, yeah, I can franchise this. And I didn't want it so personable to my name. So I thought about it and I was just like, okay, here we are, the tax experience. And a little bit about us is my goal with the tax experience is to provide a high-class experience for six-figure earners and up. And my mission is to definitely just educate people through financial literacy, taxes, accounting, whatever I can do to kind of help people just build a solid foundation for their business. And then the immediate goal, obviously, is that's the long-term structures of the business, but to help business owners save a lot of money. Because if you guys don't know, the tax code is 75,000 pages. And I'm sure you guys don't want to read $75,000 pages. So that's why you hire someone like me who has dissected the tax code to help you understand the advantages that you can use in your life and your business to help you lower your taxable payments. And I just want to go a little bit, now this is the education portion of my presentation. I just want to give you guys some tips on what you can be doing in your business life or your personal life to help you better win. So business structure, I want to touch on this just a little bit because that's important because that actually affects how you are taxed. So there's obviously 4 different structures: sole proprietorship, the limited liability, corporation, and partnership. And based on how you pick your tax or how you pick your business organization is how you're taxed. So a lot of people, the biggest question that I get is, what's the difference? A lot of people hear on social media, like the difference between the LLC and the S corporation and things like that. And I tell people to be very cautious because every business owner situation and money situation is a little bit different. And as you know, sole proprietor is like the first level of business. Everybody pretty much starts off as a sole proprietor, or they might directly go to a limited liability company, and then corporation. And obviously the two business structures that get taxed the most are the corporation and the partnership. And the little limited liability company and sole proprietorship, you get taxed twice. But there is ways that you can have a pass-through entity by switching to an S corporation so that you're only taxed once on your business. So a lot of businesses, this is why people end up hiring me, right? Because first of all, it might be, did I go back? Oh, okay. A lot of people just don't look at their numbers. It's not something that they just like to do. It's just something that they're so busy trying to run their business, market their business, doing the admin structures of the business that the financial pieces of the business kind of go to the wayside. And it's okay, but that's why I'm here. So most business owners, they don't look at their numbers. They don't review their reports because they just don't really understand them, right? Because it's a lot to look at, like understanding the different parts of your business, your profit and loss, your balance sheet, all those different types of reports that you probably have no idea what they even mean, but those are things that are important to help you grow your business. And sometimes you just feel ashamed or embarrassed to ask for help. And that's the reason why I created the tax experience, because I wanted people to understand that I'm here to help. I'm not here to judge. A lot of people in the financial industry judge people because they're high and mighty sometime, or they have reached a different level of success, and they don't come off as an approachable person to help people with their finances. So I make sure that I build that rapport with my clients. And then taxes. So these are different types of taxes, right? So we have federal tax, sales tax, employment tax, corporation tax, exercise tax, and franchise tax. These may or may not apply to your business, depending on what kind of business you are starting. But we have a lot of taxes, you guys. Everybody knows, obviously, the federal taxes. We have to do our federal taxes, and per state. New York State is one of those states that we have to do state taxes. Some states don't have state taxes, but everybody at least knows the federal taxes. Sales tax, depending on what type of business that you have, you may or may not have to pay sales tax. Employment tax is when you actually start to put people on payroll. Franchise tax, that's the tax that I'm going to eventually have when I start the franchise. Exercise tax is a tax in relation to your alcohol and things like that if you're selling that at your business, and then your corporation tax. And then I just want to briefly talk about permits, because this is a part in the process that a lot of business owners forget, and it gets them into trouble. And they end up getting fees and penalties because they didn't pay attention to the different type of permits that you get. And I think that's important when you're starting a business, is just always to make sure that you know exactly what you need for the different type of business that you actually have. So city tax, depending on what type of city or town that you're in, you might have taxes in relation to that. Your county taxes. We don't really have county taxes. County taxes are, city taxes in New York City. They have a lot of city taxes depending on each borough that you're in. Your state taxes, obviously in New York State, we have state taxes. And then your federal taxes, depending on, you might have different licenses and permits that you need to have for different businesses that you're actually operating in. And then obviously for the state taxes, your real estate agents, obviously you can't just become a realtor without a license. You can become an investor and different things of that nature. You probably see like the little signs when you go into people's establishments with their permits and licenses. So just make sure that you get what you need when you're starting a certain type of business, because it can creep up on you. And importance of filing taxes, right? It's just something that we just can't avoid, right? We have to do it. We're required to do it. A lot of people think like they can get around it, and it's just like you can't. A lot of people, this is a big misconception, is that you have 3 years to file your taxes. No, if you can only file. You have 3 years to file if you're getting a refund. If you owe, then no, they want you to file on time. And there's different ways that you can extensions that you can file if you know that you're not going to be able to pay your taxes on time. That's a huge misconception in the tax industry. I have so many people that be like, oh, well, I thought I could file, a year or two from now. And I'm just like, no, like you have to file every single year. And, it would just save you time. It'll save you from being in trouble with the IRS, because nobody wants to be in trouble with the IRS, right? And it goes a long way. You need taxes for different things. This is huge. Like with the pandemic that happened, so many business owners wasn't able to get the funding that they needed because they weren't doing their taxes to be able to get these grants and fundings that you need. So taxes are so important. So never let taxes be a thing that you don't do to hold you back from different opportunities to help you grow your business. In accounting and bookkeeping, right now, you guys, it's tax planning season. So I've been reaching out to some of my clients like, hey, we need to start looking at tax season. If you guys know, we're like, 4 or 5 months away from the next tax season. So the first half of the year is always tax season, and then the other half of the year is tax planning season. And this is where bookkeeping and accounting comes into play. Bookkeeping is so important because it helps you budget, right? So you need to understand how much money you're bringing in, how much you're going to be paying for different expenses, to make sure that you're not just operating a business and you're not really making money. It helps you with tax preparation at the end of the year, because I get business owners in my office freaking out because they didn't do any bookkeeping. They don't have their numbers together, and they're just like, oh my gosh, Annette, help me. And I'm just like, see, this is why you should be doing bookkeeping, because it helps you. I help them regardless, but I would prefer if they are keeping good, accurate records, because that also helps you make sure that you're not paying a lot to the IRS. A lot of people pay a lot more money than what they need to because they didn't keep good records for their businesses. And obviously, the tax code is built for entrepreneurs. It's there to help us because they know that business owners stimulate the economy. We create jobs, we create businesses, we keep that money flowing. So they want to reward us. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. It's not really for the average person. But and it keeps you, bookkeeping keeps you at peace, right? You don't have to worry about not knowing your numbers, not keeping track of your receipts, not keeping track of your expenses. And these, I just want to give you guys 4 accounts that every business owner should have. So when you actually go open up that business bank account, just don't go open up one bank account. In the beginning, it's okay, but you should have a tax account. So that's an account that helps you put your money, some of your profits that you make in a tax account, so that you already have that money. So when tax time comes, that you already have that money in a bank account to pay the IRS, versus figuring out like, oh my gosh, like how I'm gonna pay this money. I didn't save it throughout the year. Your sales tax account, if that applies to you, putting that money in that sales tax account so that you could just pay your state. And your savings and reserve, this is a big one, right? A lot of people, businesses did not went under, right, during the pandemic because they didn't have a savings account. They didn't have a reserves for emergencies. So this is huge. Like every business needs this because you just never know what's going to happen. Even just, on a pandemic level, yes, but just for just emergencies that might happen in your business. If a water tank breaks or just anything that might happen in your business, you want to have that savings and reserve so those things that do happen, it doesn't like destroy your business. And then your merchant account, that's going to be things that for your everyday purchases, your rent, your utilities, your supplies, and things like that. So if you don't have that, definitely make sure you get those. And the reason why bookkeeping and accounting is so important, because it helps you understand your business. So when you do bookkeeping and accounting, it helps you understand your profit and loss, which is a statement that reflects your sales and your cost of goods sold, your balance sheet, which illustrates all the assets and the liabilities. Your cash flow reflects the money that's coming in and out, and then your ratio, which reflects all your assets and what you keep after your profit. So doing bookkeeping and accounting, these are what I prepare for clients. So I'm always preparing. Your profit and loss is something that you actually use at the end of the year. So everybody should be pretty much familiar. Every business owner should be familiar with a profit and loss statement, because that is what we file at the end of the year. But we also use that on a monthly basis to kind of look at the ins and outs of the business and what's going on. So those are things that I do on a daily basis, which helps business owners, number one, make better decisions with their business, and just help you be able to grow your business as well, because understanding your business is going to be able to help you understand how to grow your business as well, and how to maintain and manage the money that you're making. And tax strategy. So I just want to talk about some deductions. So this is where, like I said, the tax code is made for entrepreneurs, right? So your deductions come in and how well you are keeping track of the expenses that you are doing throughout your business. So these are some of the common ones. There's a whole bunch, and I reference the publication where you can actually go and look on the IRS website and you can look at everything. It might be a little bit confusing, but they literally list every type of expense that you can write off as a business owner. And I know a big one right now, hand sanitizer, right? We all had to have hand sanitizer and masks. They now made that a medical deduction. So you can actually write that off on your taxes now. A lot of people spent so much money on hand sanitizer and masks. So they just now made it a medical deduction that you can actually write on your taxes. So if you guys aren't saving your receipts for those, definitely save them. On a personal level, mortgage deductions, student loans, educational expenses, your 401k, you can write the deduction, how much you paid into that, you can write that off. So those are things on a personal side that can help you lower your tax liability. On the business side, this is a big one. Meals are 100% deductible this year. Usually meals are only 50% deductible. So definitely take your business partner, take your clients out to a restaurant, and very key, a restaurant. It has to be a restaurant. It can't just be like a little fast food place. It has to be a restaurant. Because if it is a fast food place, it just falls to the 50% deduction. But meals are 100% deductible this year. And the reason why they did that, because they knew that the restaurant industry was struggling during the pandemic. So they wanted to kind of help the restaurant industry. So they made it to where that business owners will be able to deduct that. Healthcare for self-employed individuals is fully deductible. Your mileage, this is a huge one. A lot of business owners, we travel. Mileage is a huge deduction on your taxes. And obviously your typical expenses such as rent, utilities, travel expenses, supplies, those are all things that you can deduct on your taxes. And then some wealth building tips. A lot of business owners ask me, okay, Annette, like I made all this money, like what can I do with it now? So obviously investing is going to be key. Your assets are key. Every entrepreneur too should have a Roth IRA. That is literally tax-free money that you guys are putting into an account that can help you earn lots and lots of money. Making sure that you have life insurance is key. Because the three pillars of wealth building is real estate, stocks, and entrepreneurship. So making sure that you have that mixture is going to be so key for you. And an ETF. So this is something new that I just actually started. I actually have an investment account, and it's an exchange trading fund account. It's through Vanguard, and they offer you can use that as an account to help you tap into the tax-free money. So I put, for example, if you max out your retirement, so you can put in $6,000, but you can put in more than that if you want to. But that's like your yearly max. If you use that method after 15 years, you can have $250 tax-free money. So definitely, I have an advisor on my team that actually helps people set up accounts and things, investments accounts. So if you guys are looking into things like that, it's going to be key, because as an entrepreneur, we make money, right? And the goal is to make money to help us make more money so we can continue to accomplish and live out all those other goals and dreams that we have. In real estate, I know a lot of you guys are into real estate. So this is huge when it comes to taxes. Capital gains, you have to pay capital gains tax on the sale of your home. So if you are selling and buying property within 180 days, you can avoid some capital gain taxes. So that's huge. That was a huge thing that I experienced this year, because a lot of people buy real estate. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Do you guys have any questions for me? I know it was a lot of information, a lot. You know, I talked about the journey, talked about the taxes. Oh, yes. Oh, repeat that one more time. Okay, yes. So in order to file taxes, I had to get a P10 and I had to get three things. So I had to get an EFIN, which is electronic filing through the IRS. So that authorized me to be an electronic filer for the IRS. So you just have to fill out a form. You have to pass some background checks, some federal checks. There's a lot of checks that you got to kind of pass. And then they pretty much grant you that permission to be able to file taxes, as well as my P10, which is my federal number to be able to process New York State sales tax. So every state, for some states, you need an actual filing number to actually process those tax returns. In some states, you don't. So I pretty much had to get whatever state that I actually file taxes in, because I have a lot of clients. I have clients in California, Texas, all over the place pretty much. So I had to get a number for each one of those as well. So that's pretty much how I got started, you know, beyond my other expenses like insurance, business insurance, and things like that. But to actually file taxes, that's pretty much what you need. What did you say? A patent on the tax experience? Yes, it's in trademark. Yep. Yes. Yeah. So I think that your business is a reflection of yourself, right? So I consider myself, I feel like in order to be in this industry, you have to show up a certain way. Like I couldn't have selfies on flyers or just like a weird logo and, you know, things like that. Your aesthetics have to match the mission and vision behind what you're creating and for people to take you seriously. And I just think that I'm a woman of a higher standard and I have a high business standard for myself as well as other business owners. And that's the reason why I attract certain business owners who have that kind of same standard. So yes, I definitely invested a lot into my logo, my branding. So yes, definitely. Definitely. Yes. Good question. No, of course I take those clients because everybody starts somewhere, right? But that is the goal. Like I see myself as a luxury tax business that caters to millionaires and billionaires. That's the goal of the business, right? But I know that starting off, I want to help my clients grow. So as we're both growing together, my clients will get there. So yes, of course, I definitely take clients who don't make that right away. And I do personal taxes as well. So obviously those are people that might not have businesses and things like that. But I just, hold a holistic approach. That's what I'm in the process of curating. Yes. Yeah, repeat that one more time. Oh no, so I had a partner when I was going to start the tax experience. Yeah, so she pretty much she worked at H&R Block, but she actually worked there longer than me. And I asked her, I'm like, hey, we should do this together. And she pretty much was like, your vision is too big. And I just was like, okay, bump you, like I'm going to continue to do this. And sometimes your vision, when God gives you that vision, he gives it to you, he don't give it to everybody. So obviously he gave it to me and I wanted to bring her along with me on my journey, but she just wasn't there. And I still, she's still my friend, but now she sees it. Now she's like, Annette, like can I still come like back? And I'm like, no, it's a little too late now. But see, people don't believe until you do it, right? They don't see the vision until it's actually done. And it's just like I told her to trust me. She just felt like her strengths wasn't in the same strengths that I had. She's like, you're really good with marketing. You're good. You're a people person. I'm like, okay. And you're a good processor. You know what I'm saying? You have to find those people that you have those strengths and weaknesses to help you curate the business that you want. So, but yeah, at H&R Block, no, I was just working there. Yes. Yes. So I did a lot of hiring this year. Um, so when it comes to the social media, I literally look at people who, when it came to my graphic designer, I seen that she was passionate about. I really work with passionate people because I feel like if you're going to be passionate about what you're doing, you're going to be taking what I'm giving you. You're going to be passionate about curating my vision as well. Because I had experience. I spent money on graphic designers who didn't capture the vision that I was looking for because they weren't passionate. They were just trying to make my logo and get their money and, go on to the next person. So I looked at people who had very clean graphics and kind of understood what I was trying to curate to help me curate a very clean, and I wanted a logo that's going to last for years, right? I didn't want a logo that I was just going to have to, a logo that you can see on a building for years to come. That was like my goal. And on the hiring part too, so I started off with 6 people, 6 tax professionals this year, and it didn't work out with every single body, but that's a part of the game, right? But I look for people. I try to create the culture of my business, and I'm very straightforward. And I kind of give people. I have their SOPs, so there's standard operation agreements of what I'm expecting of them. How we're gonna do business here, and then trying to curate that culture. But it doesn't always work out, right? I started with 6, ended with 3. Beyond my other admin, like people that work with me as well, but you got to look for people that want it as bad as you, really. People that I wasn't looking, I was very specific too. I'm not looking for people who want to do what I want to do, right? Because some people will try to work with you to try to take what you got and go and make it. So I was very specific. Like you cannot want a tax business. Like initially, like if you tell me that up front, then maybe like, we can have a conversation. But like I wanted people who were going to help me build out this vision. And in return, they're going to be rewarded. Hmm. Yeah, but so that's going to be like starting next year. So I'm like giving myself one more tax season. I was talking to Matt earlier. I had some offers already in Atlanta, in DC. So like people been watching me and they seeing what I'm building. And they love my name. They love my name. So I definitely had to get that trademark. And I already had somebody try to take my name too and my logo. So those are things that are very important in business. When people start to see, like, they're like, oh yeah, they see what you have and they try to duplicate it. And just like, no, you want to always protect yourself from the very beginning when you know the vision of your business. Yes. Good question. I think I don't know. I mean, I think maybe dealing with a rude client, or someone you deal with rude customers, but during tax season is such a huge hectic time. So you do get some people that just don't get it and they want to rush you, or um, business owners who I have to be very careful because people think that you're the new business owner in a sense, so they will be illegitimate businesses that will try to come get their taxes done. So that's the biggest thing. I think that's like the biggest challenge that I face, but I usually don't attract those type of people, and I'm able to vet them out I'm able to like sense them very quickly, like, and I tell them no, can't do your taxes. So but overall, like, I love my clients. I love what I do. A lot of my clients is so funny because like as the clients was coming in this year, like I was literally on the phone crying with some of my clients, and they was like, Annette, like, what are you crying for? And I'm just like, I'm just so grateful. I'm so appreciative because out of everybody that you could have went and got your taxes done, you came to me, and just to see it all happen, and I was just so grateful from strangers from all over the place, like literally all over the place, was like, I want you to do my taxes because they heard the journey, they see the passion, they know that I know what this is my superpower, this is my skill, and I know what I'm doing. And they want people that are passionate about what they do. They don't want people that just want to do it for the money. And I think that I exude that a lot. Obviously, I'm not doing free taxes, but they get that I'm passionate about what I do. And I think when you're passionate about what you do, it's going to show up in your work. It's going to show up in everything that you do. Yes. So I had no funding for my business. I literally was using the money when I first started. I was using the money that I was making from my job to fund the business, and then when came into this tax season, it was literally still I was using like the money from I was making from unemployment, and then the money that I was getting from my clients. So yeah, I didn't even get any funding because when you do your taxes, so like that first year, I just did the taxes for like the first year of the business. So I didn't have any like record of like what my business make and things like that. So yeah, I didn't get any business funding like going into the business. And I was grateful. I'm just so blessed that it worked out. But now, now that I have the financial records to support the business, now definitely I can get funding if I wanted to, but I didn't go the loan route or anything like that. Initially, it was just all the blood, sweat, and tears putting into getting it done. And I think a lot of people start, working their job and using that money, putting that money aside to invest into their businesses in the beginning until they're at a place to be able to take out that loan or get funding. You got another question? No, you're fine. So I did a lot. My business developer, her name is MJ Allen, and she helped me with that stuff because I was just like, I don't want to look for a space. I got other things that I need to focus on to help me actually build out this business. But the thing that I was very prominent about is that I wanted a good location. I wanted free parking for my clients. I didn't want my clients to figure out where they're going to park to come see me. And number 3, I wanted 2 spaces. So I should have put a picture to show you guys the office, but it's a beautiful office. All my clients love my office. I have a waiting room area, and then I have a space where I have me and my other tax professionals' desk is. So, but my goal is to get a building. I can't wait to see the tax experience on a building. But that was where I wanted to have a nice, clean environment. Like I wanted my clients, if I'm creating this luxury tax experience, I wanted to make sure that I did that in all different areas of my business. But I definitely had a list of different office spaces that we researched, that we reached out to, looked at numbers, how much the rent was going to cost, and then I kind of made my final decision. I went and looked at a lot of places, and then I made my final decision. Any other questions? Oh, well, thank you guys so much. Oh. You said, repeat that one more time. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, anything that a deduction is anything that's necessary and ordinary to actually run your business. It's considered a deduction. So if you have a good person on your team that can help you, you can get really creative with. You can really make anything to a tax deduction. You just have to be strategic with it. So yeah, definitely shipping. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Any other questions? Thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you all for coming tonight. Did y'all learn anything? Anything? All right. Well, as per usual, Harold's got a book giveaway this evening.
Mm-hmm.
What's the book? What's the book tonight?
This one is The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey.
Who's read that?
Who's read
Demetrius, Annette. Akil, you read that book? All right.
Did you guys notice? It seemed like as we keep having guests up here, that everybody has the same. I mean, it's similar. The backgrounds, the struggle, and then you notice they get the reading, and next thing you know, they get a mentor. It's kind of, and it's funny to me when people say, I don't like to read. You sure? You know what I mean? Think about what you're saying. I mean, how is you going to get there? How are you going to change your mindset? So think about it. Everybody comes up here, you keep hearing the same thing, and then you go, I don't read. Don't cut yourself short. All right. So how are we going to do this tonight? Questions? Who hasn't read the book? All right. Y'all, all right, stand up. Who hasn't read the book? All right, we can just give them to y'all. That's good though. I'm glad at least everybody.
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight. Be on the lookout for the next event announcement. Harold and I are working on that. We're going to work on something about tonight was kind of getting your mind right. A piece of that. Next thing is about getting your money right. Okay. Right. And that book is all about that. So definitely take that. And if you're not used to reading, just read a page a day. That's it. Make it a habit.
Yes.
And then when you're used, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is your foundation. So there's Rich Dad Poor Dad. These are my two favorite books. This one and then Rich Dad Poor Dad. This is the foundation. Rich Dad Poor Dad is more like the college part. You know what I mean? So you want the foundation because if you build a house, right, without a good foundation, you know what happens, right? Right? It falls, right? So you want a good foundation. This is your foundation. And then from there, if you can't get to this point, you can't graduate to the next point. So.
Okay. All right. So, we're going to wrap it up and, be on the lookout for our next event announcement. You got more?
Just two more.
Okay.
Anybody else didn't read it? How come you didn't have your hand up? Acting like she read it. Anybody else? Last one. All right, we'll take it back. All right. Huh? You haven't? Matt, what is wrong with you? Yes, sir. Perfect. All right, so thanks for coming, and we can all network. All right.